What's up guys, it's Mega giving you another deck for Link Evolution. A quick shout out guys to all of you lot because big hype, we have actually got over 500 subscribers. We're just absolutely mind boggling. When I first started making this I never thought that was going to be happening, so I just want to say guys, thank you very much. I really do mean that, and I'm giving you guys my Fluffle deck today. It's a deck that I've always loved. Fluffles is just like as bad as Cyber Dragons when it comes to OTKs. They're very good. Obviously this deck's not all about going second. If for instance you have to go first, you are able to go first because obviously you are going to either Union Carrier play, shut down your opponent from using the extra deck, or even going to Winder to shut your opponent from basically special summon only once. So yeah, you're pretty much just changing like the Brilliant Fusion engine, adding in that that kind of cards, and for the extra deck you're pretty much just losing a lot of the useless links that you had to run and just putting in useful ones such as Anaconda and Union Carrier. And with that guys, if you're struggling to make this deck or any deck shown so far, I highly recommend you check out the card hub. Not even tell you if a card is in this game or not, tell you where to find it, such as campaign, challenge mode, or a card pack. That does include the new cards that are added with the update, and also down below with that is that in the description is my Twitch, where I do try and stream as best I can, bringing you Link Evolution streams and also other games that I like to play. And with that guys, let's get into the video. Starting us off guys is 2 copies of Ash Blossom Joy Springs. The reason we're running Ash is just because we had some free space and I decided to run Ash over running Nibiru. You can always run Nibiru because obviously combo decks are still a thing in this game. So you can obviously run, it's obviously your choice if you want to run Nibiru or Ash Blossom. I just prefer the Ash Blossom, so I decided to choose that. And what Ash Blossom does guys, if your opponent adds a card from the deck, sends special summons from the deck, or sends a card from the deck to the graveyard, Ash Blossom shuts that effect down, and it's just really handy hand trap. 1 copy of Dragon Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. Obviously we're using this and the Union Carrier. If they redo this deck this game, they're going to banish this, so they're going to ban this card because it's just absolutely broken. If this card's a crypt or a monster, that it shuts your opponent from using the extra deck, which is just absolute OP. Going on to the Edge Imp cards, we're running 3 copies of Edge Imp Chain. You don't really play its first effect, so we're going to forget about that. The main reason you use this card, because if it's sent from the field or hand to the graveyard, you get to add a Frightful card from your deck to their hand. So this card searches out your Frightful Fusion, and it searches out Frightful Patchwork. This effect will trigger if you send it to the graveyard with Toy Vendor, if you fusion someone with it, or if you link someone with it. So it's a really handy card. And then 1 copy of Edge Imp Sabers, because obviously some of our fusions require Sabers. Also, if this card is in the graveyard, you can select 1 card in your hand, place it back at the top of the deck, and summon this card from the grave. Free summon, and also it really helps with links and your fusions. Going on to the Fluffles, we've got 3 copies of Fluffle Bear. Really standard in a Fluffle deck, guys, because you can send this card from the deck to the graveyard to instantly search out Toy. Sorry, you can send a card from the hand to the graveyard, sorry, to instantly set Toy Vendor from the deck. And then of course if you run the Fluffle Wings, you're already 90% there to play Fluffle Wings as effect. You don't really play Bear for its field effect, you really just play it for the for setting the Toy Vendor. Using 1 copy of Fluffle Cat, where if this Kai is used as fusion material, you can target 1 polymerization in your graveyard and return it back to your hand. So if you discarded polymerization because of Twin Twister, or if you just used polymerization, like you've only got 1 in your hand, and you use this to bring out the Tiger, or you used it to bring out, I don't know, Kraken, you can then get your polymerization back and go into Sabertooth. So main reason you run Cat. 3 copies of Fluffle Dog. If you have this card, guys, with Edge Imp Chain, or with Edge Imp, or with Frightful Patchwork, you can near enough do 2 like lockdowns if you're going first, or it just helps you going second to set up your OTK. So if you're going to go first with this card, you near enough can go into Anaconda, then you go into like you go into Kraken and Sabertooth, and you can then overlay into the Orcus of the Dawning Sun, I think it is, and then you can play El Shaddai Winder with instant fusion and do a lock that way because it shuts your opponent from doing 1 special summon, or you can do a different lock where you can go into Union Carrier with Sabertooth, and obviously Sabertooth can't be destroyed by battle by card effects, and Union Carrier will just equip Destruction Sword onto it and will just prevent your opponent from basically using their extra deck. So, and that all stems from Fluffle Dog with just Chain or Patchwork. So Dog, really handy. 2 copies of Fluffle Penguin. If this bad boy is used for fusion material, you get to draw 2 cards and discard 1. It's the main reason you use it. It does also have another ability where you can normal summon, where during your main phase, you can special summon another Fluffle from your hand, which is actually kind of useful when you're going for link plays. 1 copy of Fluffle Sheep. The reason I run Sheep, guys, is because it's a free summon and it really helps out with your OTK, and it really helps out with your going first play if you're doing that board I just mentioned. Because if you control a Fluffle monster, you special summon this card from your hand, and it also has another effect where you can target 1 Fluffle card on the field, bounce it back to your hand, then you get special summon a Edge monster from your hand to the field. So really, because you're going to play it with the dog, you just bounce the dog back to your hand, special summon the chain. Chain's effect's going to then you get to link them to away into Anaconda. Then the chain's effect will activate, searches out the card. You see what I mean? That's why Sheep is really handy. And then finally, 3 copies of Fluffle Wings. If this card is in the graveyard, you can send 1 toy vendor you control to the graveyard, banish Fluffle Wings and another Fluffle monster, and then you get to draw 1 card. And then, because you sent toy vendor to the grave, you get to search out a card, and basically you go like +2 in card economy. You draw a card by banishing the Fluffle, you draw another card by sending the toy vendor, then toy vendor lets you search out a Fluffle monster. It just really fixes your hand, all because of Fluffle Wings. Absolute OP card. Going on to the magic cards, guys. We're running 2 copies of Called by the Grave because the last thing we want to do is get hand trapped ourselves. Like for instance, this deck really suffers if you get Ash Blossomed yourself, like for instance with the dog. And also if your opponent tries to resurrect cards from the graveyard, so with like Monster Reborn, Called by the Grave, Call the Haunted, that sort of thing, you could just pretty much just remove that monster from play so they can't do that. 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods. You activate this card, guys. You're just going to send Toy Vendor to the grave. You're not going to play any other card. You're just going to send the Toy Vendor, because with Toy Vendor sent to the graveyard, you get to search out a Fluffle. So there's just 1 card equals a free Fluffle. The 1 copy of Frightful Fusion. Because it has Frightful in its name, it's searchable with Chain's effect. You can, when this card, you basically send monsters on your field or graveyard and banish them and special summon a Frightful monster. It's basically Miracle Fusion for Frightfuls, basically. Really comes in handy when you want to get out a free summon, just using your cards that you've already used for fusion material, or just for that you just send with, obviously, with all our discards. 3 copies of Fright for Patchwork. Again, because it's Fright for searchable with Chain. You basically add 1 Edge Chain and a Polymerization from your deck straight to your hand. So the reason why this works for the OT, for like the lockdown if you're using it with a dog, is just because this searches out the chain, and you just want to get, I mean, if you just have the dog and the chain, the lock works. That's the only things you need. Like, every other card is near enough dead, but Fright for Patchwork just lets you add that polymerization, which is basically a free extra card with the chain. So that's why it works. 1 copy of Instant Fusion. You use this to bring out the El Shaddai Winder if you want to do like that kind of lock, or if you want to go into Fright for Sheep, because then because you've got a Fright for, it just makes it easier to go into Sabertooth. 3 copies of Polymerization. It's searchable with Fright for Patchwork. You can bring it back to your hand with Cat, and because of Twin Twister, it doesn't matter if you discard it because you've got 2 other copies, and you've got, obviously you can search it with the Patchwork. 2 copies of Super Polymerization. Because we're running Anaconda, it just makes life so much easier, and you can just fusion some monsters your opponent controls, and of course you're able to go into like just bigger plays, and your opponent cannot negate this card. 3 copies of Toy Vendor. Shuts down your you discard 1 card to draw a card, reveal it. If it's a Fluffle monster, you can special summon any monster from your hand. So here's a tip: if you have, for instance, in your hand Edge of Chain, and you draw and you reveal Fluffle Wings, you're then able to special summon the chain. You don't have to summon the monster that was revealed with this card. Quick little tip there, guys. If it isn't a Fluffle card, you have to discard it. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Edge Imp, Sabers, or a Fluffle monster from your deck to the hand. The graveyard effect, where if this card is sent to the graveyard, isn't a once per turn, so you can play Foolish Burial Goods, add a card, and still do the Fluffle Wings one to still add another card. 2 copies of Twin Twister. Back row is obviously a problem, like against many decks, and also if you're going up against a Pendulum deck, playing Twin Twisters just interrupts their plays a lot. And you have to discard a card. Doesn't matter if you want to like play the Fluffle wings. It's great, obviously, like get it into the graveyard easily. You can destroy your own toy vendor with this to search out a card. You pop your opponent's back row. It's a win-win, guys. Going on to the extra deck itself, we've got one copy of El Shadow Winder. You can actually make this legit if you go up against a Shadow player, which is actually very common because they have the Shadow, you have the Darks with your Frightfurs and your Edge Imps, or you can just let your opponent or the Shadow player to just have a Dark and a Shadow and go into Super Poly that way. And of course we can play with Instant Fusion. So you play this with Instant Fusion, and you can only do it with Instant Fusion if you're going to have the Orchist Exceeds to protect it, because then you kind of negate the Instant Fusion destruction. And the reason why this card is good is because when this card's in play, each player can only special summon once per a turn. So it just shuts down your opponent if you don't want to do the Union Carrier lock. 2 copies of Fright for Kraken. What a card, guys. It's basically one of the best generics because it's any Edge Imp monster and any Fluffle to summon this card. You can target one monster your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. This card can't attack directly the turn it's activated its effect, but a little tip, if you played that effect with Kraken to send a card from your opponent's field to the opponent's monster to the graveyard, and you fusioned, if you use it to fusion summon the Sabertooth, Sabertooth will resurrect the Kraken. Kraken will then be able to attack directly because it's classed as a new monster. And this card can attack twice during each battle phase. So if you combine this with Sabertooth, you perfectly have 8,000 attack points, which is enough to produce an OTK. And also, if this card attacked at the end of the damage step, you can make it, or end of the battle phase, you can force this card into defense mode if you really want. Going into Sabertooth, guys, when this card is fusion summoned, you can target a Frightful monster in your graveyard, special summon it. It requires a Frightful monster for its fusion material, so you just resurrect whatever monster you use to bring it out. That's why you can do the instant fusion with the chain sheep. And all Frightfuls you control gain 400 attack, that includes itself. So this bad boy sits at 2800 attack points at all times, which is a pretty useful effect. And if you fusion summoned this card using 3 or more materials, it can't be destroyed in battle and it can't be destroyed by card effects. That's why combining this with Union Carrier and do the Dragon Buster lock is just really OP. 1 copy of Fright of a Sheep. Again, you use it with instant fusion. You don't really play it, summon it out legit. If this card battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects, so you're guaranteed to get the attack off. Also, if this card is destroyed in battle or sent to the graveyard by your opponent, it resurrects and gains an extra 800 attack points. So it's really a nuisance to get around. 2 copies of Fright for Tiger. When this card is fusion summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of fusion materials. This card requires Edge Imp Sabers. That's why you run the Sabers. And also all Frightful monsters you control gain 300 attack for each Fluffle and each Frightful you control, including itself. So combine this with Sabers. Combine this with Sabertooth. Sorry, it just goes from 1900 all the way up to 3200. It's absolutely broken. 1 copy of Fright for a Wolf. You really go into this card, but it's still good nonetheless. Again, it requires Sabers. This card can attack, so it gains an extra attack for each fusion material used. So, for instance, if you use 5 fusion materials to summon this bad boy, it can attack 5 times. So you can still do an OTK with this card, so it comes in handy. Using 1 copy of Predaplant Tri-Fee Overton, I'm guessing that's how you pronounce its name. It's basically like a big boy version of Starving Venom, because it requires 3 dark monsters. Starving Venom requires 2 dark monsters. You're not going to play hardly its any effects because you can't have predator counters. The main reason you special summon this card is basically to clear your opponent's board. Also, it does have an effect where if your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, you can negate that summon and destroy the monster, which really comes in handy. And it is kind of easy to get 3 dark monsters with Verite Anaconda. 1 copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, 2 darks instead of 3. If this card is fusion summon, it takes you can target 1 special monster your opponent controls. It gains that monster's attack points until the end phase. If there's a level 5 or higher monster in play, Starving Venom can negate that monster's effect and gain the effect and that monster's name. Also, if Starving Venom is sent to the graveyard, you shut down, you destroy all special monsters your opponent controls, which is really great. 1 Dingjisu, the Orchid of the Evening Star. You exceed summon this card by going into Fright for Kraken and Fright for Sabertooth. And you only go into this, guys, if you're going to bring out the Winder with Instant Fusion, because Instant Fusion will destroy Winder during the end phase, so you just play the Evening Star's effect to basically negate the destruction, so during your opponent's turn, they can't special summon more than once. And Winder can't be destroyed by card effects, so your opponent will have to destroy Winder by battle, and then you can just send another Evening Star's overlay unit to the grave to protect the Winder. So no matter what, your opponent can really only special summon once, unless they have a super polymerization, but that's if. Then going on to the links, we have one copy of Cross Sheet. You really go into this card, but it does come in handy nevertheless. Basically, if you summon a fusion monster next to this card's link, you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your grave, which is really good because it does a combo extender. Or if there is a fusion monster next to its link and you special summon any monster next to this card's link, you can still resurrect a level 4 or lower monster from the grave. But the main two ones you go into is Predaplant, Verte, Anaconda, because you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, make it a dark attribute, which is really great for Starving Venom and for the Predaplant fusion. Or you can pay 2,000 life points to send one fusion or one polymerization, we have loads, to the graveyard to play that effect. However, you can't special summon monsters other than you can't special summon other monsters after you use Anaconda's ability, so please bear that in mind. But you can play both effects during a turn, which is really, really good. And then finally, Union Carrier. You use this with for the Dragon Destruction combo. I'm surprised this is actually going to be allowed in soon. I'm surprised this card's not banned. You target one face-up monster you control. You target one, so you get to equip it with one monster with the same attribute from your deck. It gains 1,000 attack. So you equip it with the Sabertooth, plus Sabertooth's Dark, Dragon Buster's Dark as well. That's where you do it. Sabertooth's up to 300 attack, cannot be destroyed in battle or by card effects, and your opponent is locked out from the extra deck. That's not really fair, but who cares. So that's it for the deck, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. It's actually a very fun deck to play, going first or going second. So, really great. If you want to see this deck in action, the replays are coming up, guys, and I shall see you in this. So, for the starting duel, guys, we don't have that best of a hand, because we have literally... also, we're against Dragon Maid, so... like I say, we don't really have that best of a hand. We have basically Ash Blossom, we have Call by the Grave, Twin Twister, then basically we can't really do much. We really can't do anything. So our opponent decides to send a card to the graveyard, special summon this Dragon Maid, and then her effect is she gets summon a monster from the hand. So or add a card from the deck. Add a card from the deck. I'm not really sure when it comes to Dragon Maze, but we'll shut it down with Ash Blossom anyway. So I think it was add a card from the deck to the hand, and then with that they just pass. Again, we can't really do much, so we just set the Fluffle wings, and then we're just basically going to bluff, like setting near enough everything. So we've got the Twin Twisters set in case they got back row, because again I don't really know what to expect with Dragon Maid. We've got Super Poly in case we do get 2 dark monsters. You live in hope. And then obviously you got Caught by the Grave to interrupt any hand traps, stuff like that. In essence, I should have played Caught by the Grave to remove that monster it just sent to the graveyard, but it actually works in our favour for me not doing that, as you will see soon. So again, I should have banished Lupro, so it wouldn't be able to play the effect, but then they would have just been able to do it with that other monster. So it kind of really doesn't matter that we didn't do that. So now it basically attacks with that to guarantee the destruction, then just direct attacks me. So now we have to top deck a miracle, and we did. It is Fluffle Dog. Now, when Fluffle Dog is summoned, we get to search out any one of our Fluffle cards. So what we decide to do, normal summon the dog, and then we're going to add Fluffle Bear, because we can send Fluffle Bear to the graveyard to automatically set Toy Vendor, then we can play it. And because we have Fluffle Wings, and then because we send the bear to the graveyard to play its effect, Wings' effect is automatically online, and we have the Fluffle, and we have the Toy Vendor, so this just fixes our hand straight up. So we banish the Wings along with the Fluffle monster to draw a card, then we send Toy Vendor to the grave to draw another card, then Toy Vendor, since it's gone to the graveyard, lets us search out a Fluffle monster. So you see what I mean, we've just literally just rebuilt our entire hand near enough. So we've got we purposely searched the sheep, and we've got 2 chains. The reason why we search the sheep is because we've got a Fluffle. It's a free summon. It also has another effect which lets us bounce the dog back to our hand to summon out an Edgimp monster from our hand, and that comes in handy because we're going to link summon with it. So because so now we're going to link both of these two away into Verte Anaconda. Now because Edgimp Chain was sent from the field or hand to the graveyard, its effect's now going to activate. Let's just search out a Frightful card. Because we've got Frightful Fusion already in hand, we have to search Frightful Patchwork. So we can play Frightful Patchwork to basically search Polymerization and a Edgimp monster. I decided to search out Sabers because we've already got a chain and one's already engraved. So searching out another chain would be really useless. Now we play. Now we decide to play Polymerization, fusing our dog and Sabers, and we decide to. Let me quickly go back. You see what we could have gone into? We could have gone into sheep to get a guaranteed attack off, would have been useless. We could have gone into a wolf, that would have been kind of useless because we wouldn't be able to get over his dragon. We could have played Kraken because then we could have sent his dragon to the graveyard. But what I decided to do is go into Tiger. Because again we've got Frightful Fusion, we can go into bigger plays, and also we do have Super Poly, so we can go into even more plays. But I decided to go into Tiger just to pop to his monsters because I don't know what that mystery card is, and we just get around a lot of his monsters, like clearing his board so we can go for the OTK. And also Tiger makes it so all our Frightful monsters gain 300 attack for each Fluffle and Frightful on the field, including itself. So now his effects can activate because we use 2 fusion materials. We get to pop 2 of his cards. I decide to leave his dragon on the field because we're going to use that. We're going to use it with Verte Anaconda later. I decide to get rid of his weak monster and his set card. Then we're going to play Frightful Fusion. The reason why is because now we've got our graveyard set up. We can go into big plays with our graveyard. So what I decide to do is to go into Frightful Kraken. Because Frightful Kraken can attack twice. Also, because of Frightful Tiger, it's going to get powered up because it's up for like another 600 attack. And again, it can attack twice. So we just send any one of our, I think we sent Edgimp Chain and Edgimp Chain and Frightful Sheep. It doesn't really matter which ones we sent to the grave because obviously the good thing about Kraken is that you can use either one. It doesn't care. So just between this board right now, we can attack 4 times because Kraken can attack, then attack again, then Tiger could attack, and obviously Anaconda could attack. So that would have been what, 3,000, 5,800. That would have been 5,900 attack with just them 3. Obviously, not enough to OTK. So what I decide to do is, because again we do still have the Super Polymerization set. Also, we do still have Verte Anaconda's effect. We have a lot of things to do. So what I decide to do is now, because again we're just missing that little bit of damage, I decide to just use Verte Anaconda's ability. We could have chose Choice 2 and just sent Super Poly to the graveyard. That would have been pointless. What I decide to do is just use the first effect to make his monster a dark attribute. Because now Verte's a dark, that's now a dark. Our Super Polymerization we've got set is live. Obviously we could just pay 2,000 life points and send Super Poly from my deck, but we've already got one on the field, so there's no point like going through the 2,000 pay. And again, he can't negate Super Polymerization, so we fuse Anaconda with his last monster, and we just go into Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, which is just basically enough to win. Or actually, it's more than enough to win, because now we've got over his monster. Kraken can attack twice. That can attack once, and Starving Venom can attack once. We have literally 4 attacks, and just 3 is enough to win. But we basically have enough to deal like an extra 2,800 points of damage. It's actually pretty stupid. So that's it for pretty much an OTK, guys. Like, you see, we had that whole board and everything, all because we drew Fluffle Dog. It's absolutely frightening what you can actually do because, say, Fluffle Dog with the bear, you have the wings, you just search for days. It's just absolutely incredible. Now, the second draw is absolutely not a bad one for us. We do an OTK because we've got a good hand. So again, we've got the Fluffle Wings. It's really great. That's why we run 3. We have Super Poly, we have Polymerization, and we have the Fright for Patchwork. So we can guarantee to get off at like 2 fusions at least with just this one hand. So what does our opponent decide to do? I mean, I don't even know what deck he runs, because all he does is to set one face down and ends his turn. So that tells us he's got a bad hand. So now, what's going on in the back of my mind is, you can't play Fright for... I mean, if you went into Fright for Kraken, that's not bad, but Fright for Kraken can only remove monsters. It can't remove spell or traps. So what I'm thinking, what that face down card is, worst case scenario, that could be like a Disrupt, that could be like evenly matched, it can be like Mirror Foot, you know what I mean? It could be endless what face down cards they've set. It could be called by the Grave for all you know, or Super Poly. So what I decide to do is, that card needs to go. And what card do we have to go? Fright for Tiger. So what I decide to do is play Polymerization, play Fright for Patchwork to add Polymerization, and we're going to add the Edge Imp Sabers, because you can't play Tiger with Edge Imp Chain, it has to be the Sabers. So what we do, so now, again, we're not doing any other thing. All we do is play Polymerization. We're going to fuse the Penguin with the Sabers, and you'll see why I'm going to use the Penguin. So, because Fight for Tiger is summoned, we get to pop that back row. Like, even if he plays that back row, we don't care, because the Tiger's going to go, we don't care about the Tiger. We couldn't care less. And it would turn out to be Infinite Impermanence, so it was a genuine negate. So, because you see me do a misplay, because he's set Infinite Impermanence, any card that activates in this line will be negated. You would see me play Polymerization, and I play it in this row because I forget about Infinite Impermanence Affair, and Polymerization is negated. Stuff happens. It's really a misplay. Now, because Penguin was used for fusion summoning, or used for fusion material, we get to draw 2 cards, but we have to discard 1. So what we drew was a Toy Vendor and Fluffle Dog, and look, you see, Fluffle Wings, Toy Vendor, you know what's going to happen. So we send Fluffle Wings to the grave, so now its effect is live the second we play that Toy Vendor. So now we can banish the Wings and the Penguin because it's used its usefulness to the graveyard from play. Send Toy Vendor again, draw a card, and then we send Toy Vendor, draw a card, and then Toy Vendor's effect lets us search out a monster. I decide to search out the cat, because if cat is used for fusion material, we get back our Polymerization. So we can just fusion summon for days at this point. So you see what I mean? I play Polymerization in the center row. Because Infinite Impermanence was set in that row, it's negated. So that kind of does interrupt the plans a little bit, but not too much. So what I decide to do is play Fluffle Dog. Like I've just clicked on at this point. And we play Fluffle Dog to add the sheep, because the sheep's a free summon. And the only other fusion card we have in our hand is Super Polymerization. So we need to get a monster on the field for Super Poly to work. So now we play now we're going to play the sheep. So now that because we've got the monsters on the field, we can now play Super Polymerization. So we send the cat, it's useless to us now, and we're going to fuse Tiger along with the sheep, and we're going to bring out Sabertooth. Again, because Sabertooth was now fusion summoned, we get to target a Frightful monster in our grave, so we get to special summon the Tiger back, and all Frightfuls will gain 400 attack points. That's why it's sitting at 2800. Now, you see what I mean just if you introduce Tiger with a Sabertooth. Look how much their attack points jumped. Tiger went from 1900 to 3200. Because he's going to give us 300 attack points for each Frightful on the field, so that's himself, Fluffle, and Fluffle as well, and Sabertooth. And then Sabertooth's going to give him 400 attack points to all Fluffle, to all Frightfuls. So they just stack and they get monstrous attacks. So this is how we OTK. Tiger attacks, Sabertooth attacks, and we just have enough with the Fluffle Dog for the OTK. So you see what I mean, guys? You can do a lot of OTKs with this. It's not just the whole do the Kraken, then send the Kraken with Sabertooth and attack that way. You can always do that this way. There's many ways of OTK. I do apologise for not showing you the lock is just like with all my replays I had, I didn't actually do the lock. These were just the best ones to explain with. So yeah guys, I do hope you enjoyed this deck. It's really fun to use. I've always loved Fluffles. If you enjoyed this deck, hit that thumbs up down below. It really helps out the channel grow, and I get to see if you enjoyed this deck or not. Once again guys, I'd just like to say thank you very much for all the support. Like, we've hit 500 subscribers, which is still mind-blowing. So yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much. And with that, take care, stay healthy, stay safe.